right, welcome back to Football Fever, everyone. It's time for our high school football guru, George Watson, to get into this week Zero's picks. And first, coming up on Thursday night, it's going to be Hereford at Estacado out at Lowry Field. But before we get to that, I have to point something out. Coach Danny Cervantz, I found this the other day at Academy. And yes, there he is in his heyday playing for Odessa Permian, chasing down a runner here. And I think Yates actually beat them 37-0 in this game. But
well, I don't know if he was chasing him down because he was running away for a touchdown, or he was chasing him down because of that ugly uniform. That's about the most hideous thing I've ever seen in my life, I think.
But, of course, Hereford going to be taking on Estacado, opening up the season Thursday night out at Lowry Field. And, George, Estacado, like we mentioned before, limped into the playoffs last season, but Cervantz has this team heading in the right direction. How do you see them responding in this first game? Yeah,
this is an interesting game for them because, this was a game that last year they were very competitive in against a 4A Hereford team, and it's a Hereford team that brings a lot of people back. They've got Parker Bridwell, their outstanding quarterback, back. They've got a couple of receivers back as well, so they're going to be able to put some points on the board. But I know Estacado is really focused on wanting to get off on a good foot, or a good foot on the season with this game. And this is the kind of game that I think at home that they can win. Whether they will, I don't know, because they've got some questions as well. They've got to figure out some things offensively. I just don't know if they've got enough offense to be able to keep up. I think they'll hold, with some defense. I think they'll be able to make some stops. I just don't know if they have enough offense to be able to stay with Hereford. I know Estacado's going to win some games this year, and I have no doubt about that. I just don't think this is going to be one of them. I think Hereford comes out with a little bit stronger offense and wins this game.
All right, switching over to 5A, 4A now, and Lubbock High taking on Friendship out at Friendship. We saw what happened last year when they played out at Lowry Field, but maybe this is a little bit better game for Nathan Slaughter and that Lubbock High group.
Yeah, I think so. I think Lubbock High is going to be able to put some points up as well. The thing they've got to worry about coming out of their scrimmage was turnovers. They had 6 turnovers in their scrimmage against Big Spring, which is predicted to finish 3rd in that district that Friendship is in. That Friendship is predicted to win. So I think Friendship is really looking to come out strong. I've seen them play. I like the way they're playing. I just think Friendship's going to be too much at home, and I think Friendship kind of remembers, they didn't play exactly well against Lubbock High last year at Lowry, so I think that's going to be in the back of their minds to come out and get after Lubbock High. I like the Tigers in this one.
All right, and then Coronado taking on El Paso Franklin. That's going to be here as well. Now, how do you see, Franklin and Coronado have had some interesting games over the last couple of years. How is Butch Henderson going to have his son ready to take over this offense now?
Well, I think they saw some things out of their scrimmage that I think they can go back and work on, against a Ryder team, which, Ryder's been talented the last couple of years, but they weren't as talented, from what I saw, as they have been the last couple of years. But, the thing that Coronado, I thought, really did well was they really played well defensively. They swarmed to the ball, on the sweeps, on the running plays, and then they were there making plays defensively in the passing game. So I think, they're going to be all right defensively. Their questions are going to be offensively, whether they can move the football. I don't know if Franklin will present as much challenge as maybe Ryder did, and maybe the structure is different when you get into a game. But I like Coronado, but I think it's going to be a low-scoring game. I think you're probably talking about maybe a 21-14 game, but I think Coronado comes out on top.
All right, Monterey taking on Plainview at Plainview, and of course that's going to be another game where we see 2 brand new head coaches going against each other. Monterey will get that again the next week. So Todd Pearson, Marcos Henios out at Plainview. How are the Plainsmen going to try and get back on track toward maybe another postseason berth this year?
Well, these are 2 teams that are actually pretty similar if you look at it, because they've both got new coaches, kind of installing some new things, tweaks offensively and defensively. So, and some new people that they're going to be relying on. So it'll be interesting to see how, which team is able to come up and gel a little quicker than the other. Monterey won this game pretty easily, at Lowry last year. If I'm not mistaken, it was like a 24-0 shutout, if I'm not mistaken. So it'll be interesting to see, if they can rely on that defensively. Like you said, they've got a great kid, back there in safety, and Jordan Vestal drawing some D1 looks from some schools. So I'm sure they'll hang their defensive hat on him. I think this is probably going to be another low-scoring game. This may be like a 17-14 type deal, but I think Monterey comes out on top. I think they just got a little bit, bigger pool of talent to be able to choose from and be able to hit some plays, talent-wise. I think Monterey comes out on top.
All right, Cooper taking on Bushland in our next game. And, of course, we've mentioned Tay Richardson and how much he amazed us last year when he stepped into that offense. Can he take Cooper and maybe lead them to win this district this year?
To win the district, yes, I think he can. I think Cooper will win that district. Now, I know one of the things they're really pointing at is having a good non-district season because they didn't really have any momentum going into district, even though they had made the switch with Tay at quarterback. But they were able to pick up some momentum early in district and kind of carry that through to an undefeated season. So they're really looking at getting some momentum here in non-district. The problem is they may have picked the wrong team to open up with because Bushland is an outstanding football team ranked as high as number 2 in Class 2A. And this is a school that's only been open for maybe 5 or 6 years, but this is finally their first real, starting to get some varsity depth built up at Bushland there, and they are an outstanding football team. A lot of people told me, that this is a Bushland team that played Muleshoe in the playoffs, the by-district round, and they felt that the winner of Bushland and Muleshoe would have gone on and win the state championship. So this is an outstanding Bushland team. I just don't think that Cooper is going to have enough to be able to match them. I think they'll be competitive with them for a while, and I think they'll learn a lot out of this game. But in the end, I think going up to Bushland is just going to be too much. I like Bushland in this game.
And of course, Cooper took on Muleshoe last year during their pre-district schedule. All right, Seminole taking on Idalou in our next game. And Idalou, of course, we've talked about Tanner Cook. Johnny Taylor having to replace, I think, about 18 starters on that squad, including Cook, Reagan, a number of others. How do you see C.J. Parkhill stepping into this offense and maybe trying to take it over this year?
It'll be interesting because, Idalou sat there, in 7-on-7, with the area 7-on-7 and won, what I guess is the equivalent of the state championship for the West Texas Aerial Football League out here in the small school division. So, and they were doing it, throwing the football, and C.J. Parkhill is a big kid moving from receiver, is a good physical specimen out there, and I think he'll be good at quarterback. The thing is that they've just got to replace so many kids out there at Idalou. And I know this is kind of weird because it kind of goes against what I've always said is, never bet against Idalou. But with what Seminole has coming back, they've got an outstanding kid in Daniel Allen that plays offensive and defensive line. I think is a D1 talent out there, big kid, physical kid. And they've got some of their skill kids coming back as well. They've got to replace a few holes. But being that I think Seminole just has a little bit more coming back, a little bit more talent coming back than Idalou, I think Seminole goes into Idalou, and I think Seminole wins the football game.
All right, Sundown and Post in our next game. At Post this season, I covered this one in Sundown last year, and I think we're going to see a little bit different team in Post. I've watched Chris Jones and his group out at practice, and don't be surprised when you see Clint Wyndham and Giles Dalby running that offense as a quarterback-running back tandem. That could be pretty deadly for this team.
Yeah, I think both you and I agreed during the preseason that in 3-2A, you're talking about Littlefield, you're talking about Idalou, but I think you're also talking about Post and Roosevelt. I think Post, we both agreed, is going to be one of our dark horses to maybe win that district. I think Littlefield still wins it, but I wouldn't be surprised if Post is sitting there at the end, like you said, because of the tandem of Dalby and Wyndham sitting there in the backfield. But they've got a lot of talent, surrounding. They've got a lot of kids back and a lot of key positions back, and a very talented group that was on the rise toward the end of last year. Sundown is Sundown. They've still got some talented kids. They don't have as many as they did, but they still got some talented kids. Durham is back at quarterback, so they're going to be all right for the season. But in this game, going to Post, I like the Antelopes. I think Post wins this one, pretty easily.
All right, now final game, Floydada at Roosevelt, and Coach Pointer and that group trying to do an encore for his first season as head coach last year. He's got to break in, pretty much his third quarterback now.
Yeah, if he's not used to breaking in a quarterback, he should be by now. Like you said, he's having to break in his third one. We mentioned earlier, Caden Whitley steps in at quarterback now for Roosevelt. They've got to fill some holes, also at receiver and at running back. But they're very happy with what they went through in the offseason and some of the strides they made through in the offseason and things like that, getting things in line for this year. And they go up against a Floydada team that has a new coach as well. Todd Bandy comes in and takes over the Whirlwinds, and he's got a bit of a rebuilding task to go through as well. Floydada has to sit there in that district with Muleshoe and Childress and Friona and all those guys, and so they've got a task ahead of them to make the playoffs. But I think Roosevelt, takes the momentum they had from last year, takes the momentum from the offseason, goes in, opens the season with a win. I like the Eagles in this one.
All right, so Georgia's picks for Week 0. Friendship over Lubbock High, Coronado over El Paso Franklin, Monterey against Plainview, Hereford over Estacado, Bushland over Cooper, Seminole getting a win in Idalou, Post over Sundown, and Roosevelt over Floydada. Well, that'll do it for this first edition of Football Fever. As always, a big thank you to everyone here at LISD TV for allowing us to do a second season of the show. We're excited about this season, and we hope you are too. For George Watson, I'm Travis Cram. We'll see you next week. Catch the fever, everyone.